Hello ladies and gentlemen, Meoni here of the Klezmcast. Now I have to apologise, there's been a lack of videos, my voice is only really just sort of recovering, I'm feeling a little under the weather recently, but regardless I will soldier on and I will put out this episode for you. Now if you've watched my previous episodes of my endeavours in the Kerbal space program, you will know by now that I've put up a space station, quite hefty size space station, around 100-kilometer orbit of Kerbin using MacJeb 2.0, and now I promised that I was going to put up a recovery system so that the Kerbals could come back to the planet Kerbin's surface, because, well, there's far too many of them up there and it's going to get a little bit crowded. So this recovery system, we're going to create a very simple rocket to take up a rocket that will bring them back. That's simply how it's going to be. So what we have here is we have orange tanks here to power it up. We have one of the booster rockets on the end here for the extra thrust. That will decouple when it burns out. Then the orange tanks will also be decoupled via these radials. And once that is the case, we should be around 16 kilometers high, so we should be able to use these LV-45s for these 3 white fuel tanks. Should be enough to actually put us into an orbit and also put us into any rendezvous maneuvers that we need to make. So without further ado, let's give it a go, shall we? So again, we are using MacJeb 2.0 for this to test it out. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over here, Ascendance, Guidance, and we're going to zoom out to the map and set our target being the Aeris 3, which I need to rename the Aeris 3 relay station or something like that. That would probably be a decent idea. You know what, you guys decide in the comments below. Anyway, so we're going to set this as a target, and then we're going to launch into the plane of the target. So we're going to engage the autopilot and it will speed up time relative to when we need to launch. So it will roughly be the other side of the planet coming round when we need to launch. Again, this is another night launch. I can't really say that I plan these things very well at all. I'm going to try in the future to try and make daytime launches, but I don't know how I'm going to manage that unless I change the orbitary inclination of the actual station. So we've got John Lowe Kerman on here. He's going to be our pilot, our lone pilot. We do have a hitchhiker's, I think it's called the bay that can fit, I think it's 3 or 4 Kerbals inside of it. So that's what we're going to be returning with. We do have parachutes on the top, so all of this will be basically thrown away, including the rockets once we get into the atmosphere. And then the parachutes will put the Kerbals back onto the surface, hopefully in one piece, and hopefully the parachutes won't shear away from the rocket. But anyway, so John Lowe's here. He hasn't really got a very good viewpoint, to be honest. This singular capsule doesn't have a very good sized room, really. There's not really enough room to even move, let alone look out of. So you're using the dashboard at all times here, the computer, which is just as well since MacJeb is driving. So we're approaching the decoupling, and there we go. Oh, they're very good. Now, I've had a lot of issues in test flights with this, basically with those rockets colliding with the rockets that are currently burning, the LV-45s or whatever they're called. And basically, it's been a massive disaster. So I had to use quite a bit of RCS there to stabilize the shuttle, simply because it was just so unstable. So next time, back to the drawing board. When we launch that recovery system again, we'll put some wings on it. So now the computer is just warping to the next point, which is he's coasting out to the highest point, which is your apoapsis, and he will be circularizing using a circularization burn by burning away from the planet to make the periapsis roughly the same size. Well, I say roughly, it should be pretty damn accurate considering a computer's doing it. And we're looking good, actually. We've only got a small inclination difference here with the actual satellite relay station, so we shouldn't be too bad off for a phasing orbit. So once we get out here, it's going to obviously we're going to speed this up a little bit. This is a boring bit, but it's going to circularize. And with the power of video editing magic, we have ourselves our shuttle recovery system in orbit around Kerbin at 100 kilometers circular. which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. Now from here we're going to go over to MacJeb again, open this panel, and we're going to make a bit of a rendezvous. So we're going to use a rendezvous computer here. Now as you can see, you can start the autopilot straight away, and the first thing on its checklist would be to align the planes. We're actually going to just skip that for a little bit. We're going to go straight over to making a phasing orbit. Now a phasing orbit is essentially you're going faster or slower than the object you're trying to rendezvous with. So obviously we're going to extend this out, so in theory we should be going a lot slower than the station, which means that the station will catch up with us. So basically by putting us on a higher orbitary, higher circular orbit than the station will spin round and we'll have a chance to catch up with it. And then we'll make a maneuver node where we burn in at one point, and that's where we'll basically come in and the space station will zoom into us rather than us having to try and chase the space station, which is perfect. And that's exactly how you would do a planetary insertion as well if I was to go to the moon or something. So as you can see here, we're actually in a very nice phasing orbit, which means we are much higher up than the station. So we're going to actually just quickly align the planes, actually, because they're a little bit off. It's always better to do this after you've made your maneuvers, in my opinion. We don't have a lot of fuel left to do this, so it's going to be interesting. We should have enough actually to do all we need to do, because there are only minor adjustments now. You know, it's not like we're fighting the atmosphere anymore. We're quite high up, and there isn't really anything other than the sphere of influence to sort of comprehend with. So there we are. We have ourselves a rendezvous set at this point. So what's going to happen now is the autopilot is going to zoom to that stage, and then it is going to burn inwards a little bit, and then it's calculated that the station will be at that position in exactly, what is it, 2 hours? Jesus Christ. So it's going to have to go around the planet a few times. We're going to speed that up a bit. So round and round it goes, faster than is possible. Now this is actually at full speed on my video editor's squishy tool, wow, to speed up rather. So there we go, there we go, 2 hours ahead, and we're doing our burn, and I've slowed it down again. So there we go, now we have our encounter set. It's just, there we go, finalized. So now what the computer will do, if you read it on the rendezvous guidance system here, is it's going to burn in the opposite direction to match the velocity of the station when it gets close to it, around 160 something meters from the actual station. It's going to do a burn. So it won't need to do a lot. Obviously we don't have a lot of fuel, but this thing weighs nothing. Look, we weigh like 15 tons right now, which in space-faring rocketing adventures is virtually nothing. It's like paper blowing in the wind. So yeah, it's a little bit laggy here. It always lags a little bit when there's something in orbit and I'm trying to speed up time. But there we go. Could be just my terrible computer. So there we go, it's coming into view. So it's going to start its burn here to match the velocity of the station. Look at it. Look at that station. Isn't it glorious? And there we go. We have matched the velocity. Now one thing I am going to do here is I've realized that the top section of the station of Aeris 3 has like rather enclosed ports, docking ports, which is obviously something I'm going to have to do something about. So I'm going to use the bracket keys here and switch the camera view and control rather to the station itself. I'm going to retract all of these solar panels on the top here because I don't want them to be knocked off, because that would be kind of disastrous. There's no way of fixing them at that point, and we'd probably have to launch the whole thing again, which would be a real pain in the arse. So again, I'm quick saving here as well, so I don't fuck things up too badly. So there we go, they've retracted. Now we can make the long haul into the docking station. Now I know that it would be a lot more efficient to do this manually, but again, I am testing MacJeb 2.0 to its full potential, and I'm going to let it do it again. Now it uses an absolute ton of monopropellant. There's not really many ways around that, other than obviously doing it manually, and that's not something I want to do. So we're just going to see how much fuel it gets through. But we should be fine. You know, we've got a massive tank of monopropellant, which is exactly why I brought that much, because I knew that it was going to have a few issues. Now, it's going to take a few minutes, but here we go. We're zooming in a little bit. You know, I was just trying to actually target the damn docking port there, which is a bit of a pain in the arse to actually target. Apparently it wanted to target the main capsule instead, and I was like, no, I do not want to target the main capsule. That would be terrible if I tried to dock with a wall. But there we go, now we're docking. It's fairly straightforward, and MechJeb really has made things a lot easier, and I would definitely recommend it again for beginners. And there we go, we've pretty much got it sorted, guys. Now we've got our recovery system. We can get some these foolish Kerbals that have been up here nearly a year or whatever already in a confined space. There's about 7 or 8 of them, something stupid like that. We're going to bring some of them down off camera, and they'll be all happy and glad. So the next episode I will be doing will be a venture to the moon. I've been putting it off for a long time, but I have a project that I've been working on behind the scenes, and I think I've managed to create something pretty epic, and I've still yet to test it on an actual orbitary trajectory to the moon. I've only tested it in the orbit of this planet, but it works quite interestingly. So without further ado, I will see you next time. Thank you very much for watching my video, and yeah, as I just said, I'll see you next time. Bye.